Mowed down as this truck plowed into crowds celebrating Bastille Day. The driver, a Tunisian-born Frenchman, was shot and killed by security forces.
France est affligée par cette nouvelle tragédie. Elle est horrifiée par ce qui vient de se produire. Cette monstruosité qui consiste à utiliser un camion pour tuer, délibérément tuer, des dizaines de personnes qui venaient simplement pour fêter le 14 juillet. La France, elle est éplorée, elle est affligée, mais elle est forte et elle sera toujours plus forte.
Despite the reassurance, residents and tourists remain shaken.
People, they are dead, and two of them, they are from my country, if you understand me what I mean. This one, what I want to say, the problem is not in the you are white or the black, or you are Arab or the white. The problem is the mentality of the people,
Well, I'm feeling not really safe because this can happen anywhere in Paris, and security measures. The French government, they say they're going to put security measures to protect the citizens, but anything can happen.
Interpol has deployed its incident response team to Nice as investigations continue. The ex-wife of the 31-year-old driver was held for questioning on Friday. Last year, the French came under a number of terrorist attacks. In January 2015, 17 people were killed at the offices of weekly newspaper Charlie Hebdo. And in November of the same year, Paris was rocked by multiple gun and bomb attacks around the city. 130 people were killed. The attacks are driven by radical Islamist ideology, which President Hollande believes will self-destruct soon. Aldrin St-Pierre, SABC News.
World leaders have expressed horror and pledged their determination to fight terrorism. Security across Europe has been beefed up. France's neighbours Italy, Spain, Germany, Britain and Belgium held separate meetings to review their own security after the attack. This is how world leaders responded.
Our heartfelt condolences for people massacred, literally innocent people. 84 innocent lives lost when they were celebrating their Bastille Day. They were all looking forward towards it, President Hollande said, as we were living. The coordination of a fight against terrorism should be a matter that all countries know that we are not immune to this and we need to work together.
Our sympathy can by nature never make up for the losses of so many lives. But in these days, there must be solidarity, the solidarity of all the people in Germany with friends in France.
Clearly, this represents a continuing threat. If this is a terrorist incident, as it appears to be, this represents a continuing threat to us in the whole of Europe, and we must meet it together.
Je peux confirmer que nous avions déjà été attentifs par le passé.
I can confirm that we are already on alert regarding this type of scenario based on past experience. The use of a vehicle to carry out an attack had already been contemplated by the security services.
Terrorism knows no borders now, and it's almost everywhere. And it's sad that innocent people are killed almost every day. So just to express our solidarity with France, and it's the solidarity that can help fight terrorism.
And I think people all over the world are looking to us and waiting for us to find a faster and more tangible way of them feeling that everything that is possible is being done to end this terrorist scourge.
The crime in Nice, which led to deaths and injuries, including Russian citizens, was committed with extreme brutality and extreme cynicism. I want to underline once again that only through a united effort can we defeat terrorism.
And with the suspect now identified and scores of other victims struggling to stay alive, we now cross live to our correspondent in Brussels, Jack Parrock, who has been following the story for us. Good evening, Jack, and thank you so much for joining us. Now, Jack, we understand that the assailant has been identified. Did he work alone?
At the moment, it's unclear. It's difficult to be able to say whether he was working alone or not, or whether he had backup. That side of things isn't clear at the moment, but we know that this Mohamed Bouhlel, as his name is, it was from the area of Nice, a French-Tunisian origin, French resident. He was married, he had an estranged wife and a number of children. And his neighbours in the area where he was living have described him as a strange and sometimes aggressive man. So we're starting to get a bit more of a picture about who this person was who perpetrated the attack.
Now, we've also learned about victims who are in critical condition. Any updates on these victims currently?
Well, there's a lot of medical updates, and obviously it's a very delicate time and the families need to be informed first. But we've heard, for instance, of an American son and father who were killed, and the mother and daughter of that same family survived the attack and managed to jump out the way. We're hearing a lot of stories. We know at least 10 children under the age of 16 have died. So, and some eyewitness reports have said that when that truck was driving down the Promenade des Anglais in Nice, the driver swerved towards a carousel with children on it. So it's a pretty gruesome and horrific attack, and France, and specifically the city of Nice, is going to head into mourning for 3 days now to remember the people that have died in this attack.
Now, Jack, the former wife of Mohamed, the suspect, who's suspected of being the attacker, has been held by police for questioning. Do you know what this arrest, how it's panned out and what's happening so far? Any information from the police?
We don't have any more information than that Mohamed Bouhlel, his ex-wife, was arrested by police earlier today, and is being questioned. That's about all we know at the moment. Clearly this is an ongoing investigation. She is probably seen as the most likely to be able to shed the most light and give the most information to authorities about what might have been going through this attacker's head. But clearly they'll be keeping her and the information that she's giving them in a room and tight-lipped until they are sure that releasing that information won't have a negative effect on their investigations.
Now, it's been 3 attacks in 18 months and a new 3-month curfew. How are security measures after the previous attacks, and how are the arrangements as we speak? Why has Paris or France become an easy target?
Well, this is the argument. Is France an easy target, or is it somewhere that just is regularly targeted by these terrorist attacks? Today, in the wake of the attack, French President François Hollande has called around an extra 10,000 military reservists onto the streets to secure the country, and he's bolstered military presence on the borders. And they've also decided to extend the state of the highest terror alert in the country for an additional 3 months. That was due to end in around 10 days or so. And what that means is that they can essentially conduct raids on properties where they believe terrorists are harbouring without warrants. They can spot check pretty much anyone they like. But clearly the French government says, with the high quantity of terror attacks being seen on French soil at the moment, they need to be able to react immediately to any suspected threats. I mean, this terror attack specifically is a bit of a different kettle of fish. It's not guns and bombs, it's a truck. It's believed that the attacker was himself a truck driver, so he had easy access to get this lorry and then drive it into people. It's an attack like we haven't seen recently, but it is an attack that the so-called Islamic State group has been calling for, although they haven't claimed this specific attack.
Now, Jack, we understand that we saw in the clip earlier that in reaction to this Paris attack currently, Italy, Spain, Germany and Belgium, who are France's neighbours, have come together, well, individually as countries in a meeting to discuss their own security measures. This reaction, what does this really say about this attack? Even though it was only one individual and no one has come out to state that they are responsible or he is affiliated to whoever he might be affiliated to, the reaction from France's neighbours currently?
Well, clearly here in Belgium specifically, it was only back in March when we had the Brussels attacks, on two locations, at the Malbec metro station and at the airport here in Brussels. And counter-terrorism is a really important topic here in Europe at the moment, specifically within European Union circles. EU countries are accused of not sharing enough information with one another. And it's important to note that the Charlie Hebdo attacks, the Paris attacks, the terror cell that was busted in Verviers, in an eastern Belgian town, and the Brussels attacks, as well as an attack on the Jewish Museum, the people that perpetrated those attacks were all believed to be swirling in the same terror cells, or linked cells at least. We don't know too much about the attacker down in Nice yet, but I think the suspicion is that he's probably not linked to the group that was operating through the Brussels and Paris attacks. But we'll have to wait and see. And attacks like this just serve to heighten fears here in Europe of further terror attacks. And the politicians feel and know that they must react to try and calm their populations that they serve.
Now, Jack, with the meeting that's against to fight terror coming up on Monday by the EU, any issues suggested so far on how best to deal with the scourge at this meeting?
So there's a counter-terror plan at the moment put forward by the European Union. But what's going to be interesting at this meeting is, firstly, that it will be the first time that Boris Johnson, the new Foreign Secretary of the United Kingdom, attends, but also the fact that John Kerry, the US Secretary of State, is going to be here, and they're going to be talking counter-terrorism. So this isn't just going to be a European look at it, there's clearly going to be a real global perspective. Terror attacks in Dallas, Orlando, Paris, Brussels, Nice now. I think there's a sense, certainly, that this is a global issue, Istanbul as well, obviously, and that the world needs to work together to try to prevent attacks like this, although it's a very difficult thing to do.
Jack, you touched on we touched on some of the people who were injured and people who lost their lives, and you mentioned children who were there at the Bastille celebrations. Any idea, or have the authorities confirmed identities of people from certain countries? Have they been able to get in contact with the families?
So as I said, I think there's at least a few Americans. There's been some reports that one or two British people have been involved. Also, someone has been saying that 10 people from a Russian Orthodox church were all killed in one go. They were all stood next to each other when the lorry ploughed into them. At the moment, we're getting a lot of information about the at least 84 people that have died, and clearly everybody's just hoping now that those that are in intensive care, that those are fighting for their life, can pull through.
Jack, the Tour de France is currently taking place in Paris. Is it in any way affected by this attack?
No, so the major cycling event, the Tour de France, insisted that it would carry on today. The French are a very resilient type of people, especially to this type of attack, and they feel very strongly, and have proved that over the last few sets of terror attacks, that they will not let their liberty be taken away from them. So that was the statement from the Tour de France organisers. They said, we will continue with the race no matter what.
Jack, thank you so much for joining us. We have to leave it there for now. That was Jack Parrock, our correspondent in Brussels, and he joined us live from Brussels with an update of the situation in Paris with the Paris attack at the Bastille celebration.